Hare Krishna, Namaste. In the previous recording, we learnt about Tarpanam, Shraddham. This was in regards to the question that was posted, which is, I see my parents do some puja for their departed parents and grandparents. My question is, how can someone who's dead can accept something which is being offered now? If one says that it is done for the Atma, then the Atma must have taken birth elsewhere. If it is not for Atma, if it is for the body doesn't exist anyway. So why even we have to do such things? It makes no sense. Now let's see the answer. We are not doing the Tarpana for the Atma. It is for the body. Yes, we all know the person body doesn't exist anymore. But that person who passed away is body's byproduct, exists, still alive. That is his son. Therefore, the son has the responsibility to their parents who has given him the body. And that happened through the parent's body. Therefore, there's a bodily connection between parent and children. Until the son is alive, he must remember his parents who has given birth to him. And for that reason, one must perform this ritual. So, this is done keeping body in the mind, not the Atma. It is done as a remembrance and to show our gratitude to our parents who lived with us. It is because of my father's body, I got this body. It is because of my mother's body, I got this body. Therefore, this whole thing is related to the body more than the Atma. This is the first answer for the first question. That is, when Atma is gone, whom are we doing this for? So the answer is, we are doing this keeping the body in the mind. In fact, till 10th day after the death of a person, the whole ritual that happens are done by the children with the consideration that the person is still around, still present. And on the 11th day, a priest is being invited to represent the preta, the dead body, to get engaged in the final ritual. From these things, it's very clear that body is given importance during these rituals, ceremonies. Therefore, even if the departed Atma attained another body, we will have that bodily connection as long as we live in this body. This is the way that we express our gratitude to them after they leave. As we discussed in the previous recording, we show our respect when they live by serving them, by being submissive to them, by obeying to their good instructions. Therefore, the scripture has given us this system, this ceremony to be performed by every children, showing their gratitude towards their parents. Secondly, the Lord is expecting us to follow His instructions. For that reason, we must do it. Krishna has told one must be truthful, one must be compassionate, one must be free of desire of others' properties, one must develop bhakti. There are many things that Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita and in other Shastra that is given to us. He just not gives and leaves it. He checks on us. He checks if we are following our prescribed karmas, our duties. If we are following the instruction that He has given to us. Are we living a life as per the scriptures? Therefore, considering this, we must do what Krishna has told us to do. Tarpanam, Shraddham, or His instructions. If we fail to do that, then Krishna himself says, Shruti Smritir Mamai Bhagya Yashtam Ullangya Vartate Agya Chedi Mama Drohi Mama Bhaktopi na Vaishnava. One who rejects Shrutis and Smritis, the instructions given in the scriptures, they are my drogis. Drogis means treacherous, one who betrayed trust, untrustworthy, unreliable, characterized by faithlessness. So this is the second reason. Because it is given in the scripture, one must follow it. Otherwise, we will displease Krishna. If Krishna is displeased, then we can very well conclude how our life is going to be. Not just our life, our generations to come. Now, these are the reasons why one must do these ceremonies. Number one, to show our gratitude, our remembrance, to be thankful to our parents and forefathers. Number two, it is because given as an instructions in the scriptures, therefore we must do it. Now let's address another question, sub-question of the main question. That is, how does the departed person, Atma, can accept what we are offering now during these ceremonies? During the Tarpanam, sesame seeds and water are offered to the ancestors. What happens is that which we offer during the Tarpana reaches the Pitraloka. If our parents or forefathers are in Pitraloka, they accept it. If none of them are there in Pitraloka, they have not done so much punya karma to go to Pitraloka, hence they have taken birth elsewhere, those offering that we do get transformed into a form that our parents can consume in whatever the body they are in. For example, if one of my forefather is born as cow now, then the water and the sesame seed that I offer now will reach the Pitraloka and that get transferred into, say, a grass that my forefather, who's now as a cow, can consume. If my grandfather is born as a tiger, then what I offer here get transformed maybe into a deer, where the tiger can eat the deer. All these things are not drishta, they are all adrishta. Drishta means we can see, we can sense it, we can perceive it. But these things are all adrishta. We cannot perceive them through our senses, even through our mind for that matter, which is the chief of our senses. It is easy to understand. The children lives in abroad and the parents are in another country. The children sends foreign currency to their parents who are living in another country. That money, say for example, a son is in US and he is sending his mother or father US dollars. The dollars get converted and finally reaches the parents' hands as Indian rupees. Similarly, that which we offer during these ceremonies get converted by the devatas into such a form where our parents who has taken another body can consume it. So from this it is very clear what we are offering are consumed by the departed parents, grandparents and so forth. In fact, Agni Devata has two wives. One is Swaha, another one is Swatha. Swaha collects the oblation, the things that offered, and give it to Devatas. Whereas Swatha collects those offering and pass it to the Pitrus. And the Pitru Devatas converts that into the form that my forefather can consume it. Again, this all happens by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Now the next question comes, what in case my parents have attained spiritual world? They have attained moksha. Then why should I do this? First question is, how do you know that they have attained or not? If one says, no, they have performed Sharanagati, they have performed Bhakti, therefore, for sure, they are in the spiritual world. Should I stop doing these things then? Answer is no. You still have to continue doing now, not for them, for you to go back to Krishna. Why? Because these are Krishna's instructions, as we already told earlier. If you want to be with Krishna, then follow Krishna's instructions. Another angle to this is, even if one's parents have reached the spiritual world, there are still many other ancestors. For that reason also one must perform. So for what we have seen, we have to do this because this is the way to show our gratitude, our remembrance to our parents and forefathers. Number 2, these are the instructions given by Krishna. Therefore, we must do it. Number 3, yes, they do consume what we offer, even if they are in a different body. Number 4, even if our parents have attained the spiritual world, still we have to do it because Krishna has instructed us to do it. That's one main reason. Second reason is there are a lot more ancestors that we have. For that reason, we have to continue doing this one. Even if one says that all my generation past have gone back to spiritual world, still one must continue do because the Pitru Devatas are there in Pitru Loka. They will accept those offerings. And one main point is that by doing so, we get the Pitru's blessings for us, our children, our grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and so forth. We surely need elders' blessings. Now, one last question may be raised, that is, I am a devotee. I am chanting God's names every day. I am doing services. Therefore, none of these things applies to me. If we turn the pages of Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, text 52, over there in the purport, Prabhupada quotes a verse of Sri Madhavendra Puri. Sandhya Vandana Bhadramastu Bhavato Bhusnana Tubhyam Namaha Bhudevaha Pitrascha Tarpana Vido Naham Kshamak Shamayatham Yatra Kwapi Nishadhya Yadava Kulotamasya Kamsa Dvishaha Smaram Smaram Aham Harami Tadhalam Manyakim Anyena Me. O Sandhya Vandana, all glories to you. O bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O Devatas, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. So here Madhavendra Puri is asking for forgiveness, excuses for not being able to do Sandhya Vandana, bathe in the holy waters, do Starpana to the Devatas, Rishis and Pitras. So one may say, therefore, Madhavendra Puri, who falls in our Guru Parampara, did not do any of these things. Therefore, I should follow his footsteps, not doing any of these things. Well, we have to read the second half of the sloka. Yatra kwapi nishadya yadhava kulotamasya kamsadvishaha smaram smaram aham harami tadhalam manyikim anyename. Here's the answer why he is excusing himself from those duties and responsibilities. It's because he says, now wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, that is Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. Therefore, one must gauge oneself if they fall into this category, like Madhavendra Puri. Do we see Krishna wherever we sit, wherever we go, or we see Maya? Then we can make a decision. Therefore, one must know that one can still perform these things as a service to the Lord, not for any material credits. Whereas for one who has completely surrendered to Guru, completely surrendered to Krishna, they don't have any of the debt to anyone for that matter. As Bhagavatam says, Devarishi Bhutatma Nrinam Pritranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rinecha Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. One who is completely surrendered to the Lord's service, there's no need for them to do anything extra. They are not indebted to Deva, that is demigods, sages, living beings, relatives, friends, forefathers who have passed away. But this is applicable for those who are in that stage in bhakti, not for anyone and everyone. We cannot simply imitate the great souls. One time Adi Shankaracharya, when he was traveling with his disciples, there was one person who came and offered a bottle of liquor. Adi Shankaracharya happily accepted and drank it. The disciples thought, oh, maybe we can also drink alcohol now. Within few minutes in a distance, there's another man came and offered a bottle of mercury. Adi Shankaracharya happily took it and consumed it. Now the disciple understood the glories of their Guru, that they cannot imitate what a great soul does. So in the name of devotee, we should simply not abandon our duties and responsibilities. And we are not doing our duties and responsibilities to get some benefit. We are doing that also as a service to the Lord. In fact, in Taittiriya Upanishad, it says, Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Aditi Devo Bhava. Treat mother, father, guru, and a guest as good as God Himself. But if someone, a great soul, who thinks, Tvameva Mata Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Gurus Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva, Tvameva Sharanam Mama Deva Deva. That is, my dear Lord, Krishna, you are my mother, you are my father, you are my friend, you are my teacher, you are my wisdom, you are my wealth, you are everything for me in this world. If one says this and lives accordingly, for such person, none of what we discussed so far applies. What we mean by that is, one is not indebted to do any of those tarpanam, Pitru tarpanam, Deva tarpanam, Rishi tarpanam. Nothing is needed, provided he falls into this category. But interestingly, even those great souls who are completely surrendered, who accept Krishna as everything, still continue to do their duties as long as they live in this world, because that is ordained by the Lord Himself. So to quickly summarize, number 1, we need to show our gratitude to our parents and ancestors, otherwise we won't exist as we are now. Gratitude is a very important factor, especially for one who practices spirituality. Therefore, one must do these rituals. Number 2, it is Krishna's order in the scriptures. Therefore, one must do it. Number 3, it brings the elders' blessings upon us and our generation to come. Therefore, one must do it. Number 4, if they even attain another body, still they are getting our offering in the form that they can consume that we offer. Therefore, one must do it. Number 5, even if our parents have attained the spiritual world, the Pitru Devatas will accept it. Therefore, one must do it. Number 6, even if we are devotee, we set an example to the world to follow the instructions of Krishna. As a service, one must do it. Exceptions are there for those great souls, but common people like us should not take that as a default program. One more last question before we conclude. Why the pinda, the rice balls, is offered to crows? Does this mean my departed relative, that is my father, husband, etc., they take a form of a crow and come and accept these offerings? Is this even Shastric, mentioned in the scriptures? Answer is yes. It is the injunction given in Grigya Sutra, and this is called Vayasa Pindam. Vayasam means crow. So that has been offered to the crows. As we clearly mentioned, based on the karma of the departed soul, they already reached their destination and their life continues there. So it is not that they take a form of a crow to come and accept our offerings. So the crow is said to be a carrier or a messenger for the Pitrus. When a Shraddha Tarpana mantra is recited at any location, and if a crow flies across even in some distance, then the message of performance of that ritual is being conveyed to the Pitruloka through these crows. The vibration, the phonetic waves that comes through the mantras are uplifted with the crow's wings to the Pitruloka. It is said the crows have a special power even to uplift the ether waves and some sort of unknown signal length. During an earthquake, it is researched that crow is the first creature that feels the shock even before the earthquake strikes. Crow is the most reserved and alert bird. So the crow is just a representative of our Pitrus. They are not actually our departed relative. Like how Garuda is a representative of Lord Vishnu, like how peacock is a representative of Lord Kartikeya, it is said that crows are representative of Pitru. It is also said that when Sri Ramachandra pierced one of the eye of Kakasura, the Asura who was in the form of crow was worried how it's going to find its meal with one eye. Ramachandra gave a boon to the crow that it will get the pindam from the Shraddha Tarpana ritual. Therefore, it doesn't need to worry. Again, this is not a Puranic, a Shastric story. We won't find the story in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana especially, but this is another common story which has been told by the elders. Irrespective of this story, it is a common practice that one must offer the Vayasa Pinda because number one, the crow represents the Pitru ancestors. Number two, it's a crow which becomes the carrier, a messenger of this ritual, the mantras, to the Pitrus in the Pitruloka. Now let me also share an interesting piece of information on this. If the crow eats the rice from the east side, it is said to be a good omen, that the coming generations will also benefit from the Pitru's blessings. If the crow eats from the west side, then one gets Aishwarya. If the crow eats from the northern side, then it is said the Pitrus are not fully content with the overall ritual that was performed. If the crow eats from the southern side, then some sort of unknown trouble are on our way. And if 4 crows at a time eats from all direction, that means life continues as it is. Whereas in many cases, as soon as the pinda rice is placed, immediately many crows comes and consumes it. That means the Pitrus are satisfied with the Shraddha performance. Again, these are just an information only. One doesn't need to get into too much of watching in which direction the crows consumes, because as devotees we are not doing this for any benefits. We have to do this as a service. If we do this and expect some result out of it, then this becomes a karma. Rather, one must do this because it is said in the Shastra, because I want to show my gratitude to my elders, ancestors, because it pleases the Lord. Therefore, I am not the doer, I am not the proprietor, I am not the enjoyer of this act. When one does this one, then it becomes akarma. That is, one doesn't get any reaction for one's action. One may ask, what in case if the crow doesn't turn up, or I am living in a place where there is no crows? In such cases, we still perform what has been said in the Shastra and leave the rest to the Almighty. When we minimize the standard of our ceremony, it has to be the last option. It should not be the first option. For example, when one is performing Shraddha, the best way of doing this is by having Brahmanas, 5 Brahmanas, and then performing with the Homa. That is considered Uttamam, the best. The Madhyama is where performing Shraddha without Homa, only with Sankalpa, with 3 Brahmanas. And then the least is one doesn't perform Sankalpa, one doesn't perform Homa, one doesn't invite Brahmana. Then he simply raises his hand and cries out and asks for forgiveness for unable to do these things to one's Pitru. But this option is only when the other options are unable to be fulfilled. One cannot take this as the first option and start doing this. That is not recommended at all. This topic is a big topic and there are a lot of details to it, but what we learn so much must be good enough to have some idea about what is Shraddha, Tarpana, why one must perform this, and how it helps us, plus also it helps those departed Atmas to get better life. Thank you. Hare Krishna.